Hello, everyone, and welcome along to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast. For episode 84, I'm delighted to be joined by Irish indie rockers Foreign Mornings. And on today's show, we're going to find out about the band's exciting debut album, 4am, their upcoming album launch shows, and much more. So it's a warm welcome to Michael and Reece to the This is the Music Meets podcast. Thank you very much to both of you for coming on. How are you both doing tonight?
Yeah, pretty good. No complaints here.
Yeah, very good.
Brilliant. Great stuff. Well, as I say, thanks very much for coming on. And we're going to obviously mention there the debut album obviously came out last week. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But kind of like what I'd sort of quite interested to know, really, how did Foreign Mornings start?
It's kind of like a long and slow process, really, of like me and a few friends started a band when we were in school. And it kind of, we just never stopped that, but the members just kind of changed in and out over time as people kind of faded into different things. But then I think Reece joined 2 years ago. Is that right?
2020?
3 years ago, I guess, almost 4.
During lockdown.
Reece is kind of like the last member that was like sort of putting things into place, and then we brought on a couple of other friends not long after that. Sort of end of 2021, the lineup kind of stabilized to where we are now.
Perfect. Okay. And what about the band's name? Where did that come from?
That's another one that's just not that exciting. Like, I wish it was more exciting, but we were struggling with a name for ages. And then I think it got to the point where we were just giving up on it, and I was like, right, I'm just gonna write down a load of words that I think sound nice on a page. And then those two just kind of stuck out to me after I'd written a bunch down, and we went with that. But yeah, it's the most like uninteresting way to find a band name ever.
Well, they say that the sort of the simplest ideas are often the best ones. So there you go. So obviously, as we said, the debut album 4am came out last week. It features 10 tracks, and I say it was released on the 15th of September. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. I think it's a fantastic record. So yeah, congratulations on that. First of all, but
thank you.
But can you tell me a little bit about the like the writing and the recording process for the album?
Writing wise, I guess for the most part, I would kind of write the basics of things like chords and melodies, and then bring it into the group as a whole, and everyone kind of throws in their own bit. Reece wrote one of the tracks somewhere. I'm kind of just, sometimes people build it up themselves, sometimes we do it as a collective. There's 119 was like, I'd struggled with that for ages, and just sort of fired the whole thing over to Reece and just like you take this one from here because I don't know what I'm doing with this anymore. And he kind of just brought it to where it is now.
Yeah, I went crazy with a bunch of MIDI instruments, strings and xylophone, and just went to town on it, and most of it stayed.
Yeah, it was.
We came away from the MIDI instruments, and we brought real strings in.
And recording wise, we just did it all in our house ourselves, just
in this room.
Yeah, actually where we are right now.
Right, okay.
We just fired up amps and microphones and just went for it, and ended up where we ended up.
Brought my analog mixing desk in.
Yeah.
Turned the living room into a big control room and spent a week just drinking coffee and recording.
It was good fun.
And sort of just on like the writing of the songs, are you like, obviously you have an idea when you present it to the other band members, but are you when you present it, do you have like a clear sort of like sounds how you want that song to end up, like how we hear it when you upload it and put it out on Spotify and all that? Or are you both kind of like quite open? Or, someone might suggest, Reece, as you were just saying there, you put lots of strings on 19 and the xylophones and all that. Was that something that was suggested, or was that something, that you already had in the back of your head the back of your mind that you actually wanted to do?
I Good Enough is a good example of it.
Yeah.
The way Good Enough turned out in the end was not what the song sounded like in the practice room at all. It was just Michael and I one morning. I think we probably went out for a drink the night before because he recorded a lot. And we came back and we're just sitting the next morning. Michael's making coffee and I'm just turning tracks on and off. And we have this really nice acoustic track over the song, and there was these background whispers, and I broke the whole track down to just the acoustic and the whispers. And I said, what if it sounded like this? And then it all comes in, and that's when the electric guitars come in and the drums. And we just put that on the loop.
Yeah, we just listened to it for like an hour probably.
And we just kept laughing. But then like we both looked at each other like, why don't we do this? So we made it a wee bit less on the nose.
Yeah.
I think things just kind of evolve with time as you're recording. Like it's hard to, you can sort of have ideas like I would like it to go this way, but until you have stuff recorded and all the bits come together, it's hard to imagine how it's actually going to turn out in the end.
Yeah, the song doesn't exist until it exists. But I do think, though, at the same time, some of the songs, for the most part, just were, okay, we like how it sounds live in the room. Let's just capture that. So we just tried to get that sound. Always open to changes, but sometimes it was, I knew what I wanted it to sound like for me to mix. So we just recorded it as close as we could get to the sounds that we were hearing and just tried to take it from there. And other songs were just the opposite.
Whatever.
Brett, and I'm guessing for you, obviously, guys, that you're saying there that you recorded the album literally where you are sat right now. Have you got like a background already in like mixing and production and that type of thing? Is that why you went down that route, or and maybe would you consider in the future going to like a studio and to record and like an album or an EP in the future?
Me and Reece went to college together and did like a music production course. Just how we met. So it was kind of the start for us. That was only 5 years ago, I think. Yeah. So yeah, we've just kind of been building up since then, learning bits and bobs.
Learning on the job. Just acquiring gear, and I started working as a live sound engineer just because we couldn't gig all the time. So I have just this massive like analog like mixing desk and outboard gear anyway. So we were able to, and Michael's got really nice mics, so we just put it all together and we were able to just get everything kind of sounding nice coming in, so we could really go to town on it. So there is a nice like analog vibe still in there. Like it was real. It's not all just like emulation. It was proper DIY.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I think it's quite nice, actually, quite refreshing to hear that you've got that analog sort of what's the word, like it's like mixed type of thing going on rather than it all being sort of all the modern techniques, so to speak. But maybe for those that haven't heard 4am yet, how would you describe the sound of the album to them, and what can they expect from the album?
The big thing I always compare us to would be like Foo Fighters or like Pixies, kind of a blend of kind of like big stadium rock kind of stuff maybe, and then a bit more like grungy almost. We've been compared to like Dinosaur Jr. a bunch and like some reviews that have happened, which I'd never actually listened to Dinosaur Jr. before, but apparently that's a thing we sound like, so we're just going with that.
Yeah.
And someone else said Social Distortion. Yeah. I'm very happy with that. Not that I think we sound like Social Distortion, but I love Social Distortion, so I'm taking that.
Brilliant. And have you guys got like a favorite song from the album at all? Maybe one that might mean a little bit more to you personally, or maybe is there like a message in that particular song that you were quite keen on, on getting out when you were writing it?
That's a big question. The Life You Lead is probably the most kind of like emotional one for me. It's about like choices you make and you're set on the kind of like, once something's done, it's done. Which I like as a concept. In terms of my favorite actual song, Probably like Happy Birthday would be my favorite one. Maybe.
I would say that. The happiest sounding track that has also pretty sad lyrics.
Yeah, I like it. As I say, I think it's been fantastically well produced. I thought that before. Obviously, I knew how that you did it, and I think the songs are brilliant. Really, really enjoyed the listen across the last, well, obviously since it come out. So yeah, as I said before, congratulations on that. But one of the things as well that I was quite interested about actually when I was going through, obviously when we agreed we were going to do this tonight, going through the previous releases, obviously again, this is sort of really for people maybe that don't know too much about you at this moment in time. But obviously 4 a.m, obviously, as we just mentioned, came out. You've also put out an EP called Spring Hill Avenue, which is brilliant. You've also put out 3 singles, one of which Let's Go Home obviously features on the album. So really the question is, why did you guys then decide to release an album kind of like now? Was it sort of like timing? Was it like an ambition within the band? What was the full process?
We started doing another EP. Was it maybe this time last year? A bit earlier than that, maybe. And we kind of had a few recording sessions, and we just weren't.
Just wasn't coming together.
Yeah, we just weren't really loving what was happening, and then we never released any of that stuff, and it just kind of fell away to the wayside. And then we sort of got back together, and we were like, well, we'll try and do an EP again. But at that point, we kind of been going for a bit longer, and we were like, well, I don't really want to do
the same songs. We were
They were still knocking about, yeah. But we're like, I couldn't really think of any band that had done like 2 EPs. There probably are loads, like that's probably a thing. But at that point, we were just like, no, let's just do an album and see what happens. So we did. Yeah.
Perfect. There you go.
Not the album, but that we had originally started. Remember we were recording demos in practice room last.
Three, two, one.
I remember where I was when it stopped working.
Just roll from there.
The album that we ended up with was not the album we started. We were recording demos in our practice room, and we just had enough of them. We just thought, no, let's just start pretty much fresh. And our favorite songs stayed, but we ended up without a drummer for a few months, and I was just playing drums in the studio. And Happy Birthday and Let's Go Home were the 2 first new songs that we had that were coming into the album. And I think you'd written them both about the same time, hadn't you?
They were both written in like the space of an hour, probably. Like they just sort of fell out of nowhere.
Wow,
And we
really
just kind of
fast.
played them in the room and just like arranged it. It was fun. So I played drums on both of those in the end, and then we got Jack around New Year's.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Came in during in New Year's, and we went back into the studio. So we went to a studio to record drums, just because we didn't have a space big enough for an interface big enough. So there was 3 sessions. We recorded drums, and everything else was recorded pretty much in here, between this room and the room down the hall.
Right. Wow. Brilliant. Okay. So as you're saying, there's a pretty fast then in terms of writing and obviously sounds like recording the tracks as well. So let's move on to live music. You've obviously got a couple of album launch shows in the pipeline. So first of all, you're playing the Oh Yeah Centre in Belfast on this Saturday, 23rd of September, of course, depending when you're listening back to this podcast. And then obviously as well, you're also playing Bennigan's on Saturday, September the 30th, as well. You've obviously got the fantastic Brother Vice, who I'm big fans of, supporting you, and you've also got Martha Greer as well, who's a new artist to me, so I'm going to definitely go and check her stuff out as well. But for you guys, how excited are you to be playing live and to be getting that album, to get the launch of the album, I guess, sort of properly launched, I suppose?
Very excited. We haven't played our own like headline gig since the start of the year, really. We've just been supporting people all over the place, so it's exciting to have our own sort of crowd again. I guess it's always good fun.
Yeah, sure. And for those that are going to be coming along to the show, or maybe someone that's coming to check you out for the first time, what can they expect from a Foreign Morning show?
It's loud and it's warm.
It's just kind of non-stop energy from start to finish, pretty much. It's a probably intense experience, but
brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And we're going to put the links for the tickets in the episode bio. So hopefully I've got this goes out before the first show, because obviously that wouldn't really work very well. But yeah, we'll certainly put the links in the bio for you. So as you know, here at This Is the Music, we like to try and shine a light on unsigned bands and solo artists like Foreign Mornings, who are trying to make their way on the new music scene. So kind of like over the past sort of 12 months, what sort of unsigned bands or artists have you been, you've been listening to?
It's loads of like sort of local acts from around here that we've like played with is probably the main one. There's Quiet Neighbors, cool band. They kind of like Bring Me the Horizon, sort of similar to them probably. Who else is cool from around here? Brother Vice.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of working as their sound engineer a few times this year, and they are so good.
Yeah.
There's Casual Riots.
Yeah.
They're very good.
I'm trying to think who's not signed is the other big question, but
yeah, it is.
yeah, they're calm.
It is difficult, isn't it, actually, to sort of keep up with, because there's so many bands at the moment, and everyone seems to be sort of flying as well. So yeah, I definitely understand what he's saying. It's difficult to keep up with who is and who isn't. But obviously we've spoken a little bit about the album and obviously your live shows that you've got coming up. But I'm just going to sort of throw a couple of quick fire questions at you now to try and like find out maybe a little bit more about yourselves. And obviously the band in general. So the first question is, what is the one item that you couldn't live without?
Guitar.
That's a good answer. You can't steal that one now. I don't know, probably like coffee or something. Just addicted to the stuff, but it would be good if I lived without it. It would be a good thing if it went away.
Brilliant. Okay. What are your 3 favorite albums of all time?
I've been preparing for them. You want to go first?
Are we doing a collective thing?
That wouldn't be fair.
My top 3 albums of all time: Wasting Light by Foo Fighters, which I'm guessing you'll probably share as well, to be fair. Foo Fighters' biggest inspiration, definitely, like when I started playing guitar and stuff, and that's my favorite Foo Fighters album, so that has to make it in. Probably like Phoebe Bridgers' first album, maybe, or Strangers in the Alps. Love that. And Stone Roses' first album too.
Yeah, 3 great choices there.
It's a wide range of stuff.
It is, but they are 3 fantastic albums for sure. And how about you, Reece?
Definitely Wasting Light. Definitely big Foo Fighters fan, especially that album. Paramore, Ignorance. What was it? Brand New Ice. Sorry. That went well, didn't it? that is like the album I listen to when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Traveled a lot this year, and it's just always on in my earphones or in the car or whatever.
Yeah.
And then probably the one that really started this whole music love rolling was Bruce Springsteen, Magic.
Nice. Right. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Back in 2008.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, three brilliant choices from yourself there, as well. So which band member or band members, sorry, are most likely to get married to each other?
It's a good one. The rest of them probably say us to each other, but
I would say Colin and Jack.
yeah, that's our bass player and drummer.
Okay.
I mean, they live together, so that's
right. Okay. And which band member is most likely to run off and join a religious cult?
Ben.
Yeah. So someone will come up to him with a leaflet, and he's too nice. He will talk to anyone. They will just suck him in.
Brilliant. And which band member is always late, be it for rehearsal, turning up for a gig, or just even if it's just like the band socializing? Who is it?
You're probably the latest. Although, like, none of us are actually too bad.
Better.
Yeah, you've gotten better. I've gotten worse.
Yeah.
I've still even adapting to his kind of scales, which...
Michael will be like, "I need you to be here at 7," and I'll be there just after 7, and he'll be there like 20 minutes late. And I'm like, "Well, come on, why are you so late?" He's like, "Because I know what you're like."
Okay, brilliant. Fair enough. And if I was to give you both a musical time machine, what era of music would you transport yourself back to?
The 90s. So like Oasis and Nirvana and
Yeah, great era.
I also love to go to the 70s.
Yeah,
It's like the start of it all becoming huge, and big studios, big production. Yeah,
brilliant. Okay, so
70s, yeah.
So what other plans then are in store for Foreign Mornings for the rest of the year? Obviously, you're celebrating the release of the debut album, obviously, as we've said, and you obviously got the two launch shows coming up over the next couple of weekends. So yeah, what else can we expect for you for this year? Or and even maybe looking further afield to 2024.
We've not too much planned for the end of this year. We're supporting a band called Dubinsky in Edinburgh.
Okay.
So we're heading over there for that. And then New Year, we'll be hitting the road, going to do a little Irish tour and then back around the UK. I haven't confirmed the dates yet, but
fantastic.
We'll be out and about.
Brilliant, fantastic. And you're saying there the Edinburgh date and the UK dates in general, is that the first time that you've sort of left Ireland to come across, or is
Well, we spent 2 weeks over the last couple of months. When did we leave? We left in May. We did a week in May and then a week in end of June, where we've been in Brighton, Sheffield.
We're up at Melodrum Festival up in Inverness. It was great.
We played Edinburgh as well, and Newcastle.
Yeah, we've had a good little run across the place this year.
Yeah, and looking at those gigs then that you've played already, was it quite a noticeable difference, like maybe in terms of like the reaction from the audience to what you've experienced back on home turf?
I feel like everywhere you go, it changes a little bit. Like not dramatically, definitely, because up in Inverness compared to down in Brighton, like the change is huge in terms of what the audience is like. But every little city is just ever so slightly different. It's really weird that it works that way, but it's cool.
Sure. Okay. Brilliant. Well,
how small Belfast is.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess you don't realise until maybe you're out of the bubble. Bit like where a bit like where I live at the moment as well. But Michael and Reece, that is the end of the This Is the Music Meets podcast. Thanks both to you for coming on and giving up your evening. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great fun, and it's been great finding out a little bit more about the dynamics within the band, and obviously the recording and writing process for the debut album 4 AM. But just before I do let you go, can you let the listeners know the social media platforms that they can find can find you on?
We're on pretty much everything that exists, I think. Instagram and Facebook would be where we'd be most active.
At Foreign_mornings.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we're going to put those links in our episode bio as well, just to help out, along with the link as well, as we already mentioned, for the 2 album launch shows coming up over the next couple of weeks as well. And as we've said already, 4 AM, the epic and mesmerizing debut album from Foreign Mornings is out now across all streaming platforms. So once you finish listening to this podcast, I'd highly recommend that you go and check that album out as well. Lads, as I say, thanks very much for coming on, and I wish you continued success with the album, and good luck as well with those 2 shows coming up, and hopefully when you announce the UK tour, I might be able to come along and have a beer or 2 with you as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.